Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Rippin' Lips with Marty Lawson. I'm your host, Marty Lawson. So, I need to apologize. I intended to get a video out earlier this week, but unfortunately, this guy got the old COVID. So I was down pretty hard for a few days this week, which just delayed everything. I'm finally getting my strength back. I've been fatigued. One night was really bad, but I've steadily made improvements, so I'm back to just about 100% normal. 100% normal for me. Yeah, let's just say I'm back to almost 100% normal. What I want to do is go over a few things this week. The first being the question that I posed at the end of my first video. I said that I was going to come back and look through comments and answer that question. Well, the question was whether or not to remove the split ring. I said O-ring in the previous video. Remove the split ring in the front of a crankbait and instead use a snap tied directly onto the line so that you could just disconnect the crankbait and snap on another one. Very much similar to how we used to use snap swivel. One gentleman in the comments said he used a snap swivel all his life and he continues to do it. Someone else said leave the ring on. Another person said, hey, I'm going to take the ring off and I'm going to try the snap. Another person said, I'm going to leave the ring on and try a snap. So I got a lot of different comments that came in over this. And again, the question was, there is the split ring at the front of the crankbait. And I asked whether or not to take that off and just use a snap and hook directly to the crankbait itself. So right now the jury's out on the correct answer for that. I got some varying opinions. And I think what I want to do is come back and revisit this a little later on in the fishing season and see what people tried and see what they had success with and get their opinions, and we'll revisit it. So that was the question that I asked last week. Put this back in the box real quick. I got to show you. That's a pretty box right there, isn't it? Look at that. Can you tell I'm getting ready for spring with crankbaits? Yeah, I am. Okay. So look, the other thing with COVID is people have said kind of messes with your brain a little bit, your memory, things like that. So if you see me looking down more often than normal, I have notes in front of me with the things that I want to go over this week. So the next thing is going to be, I'm going to ask the question up front this week and see if I can get people to watch the video through this portion and provide feedback. So my question is going to be this. Folks know what chatterbaits are, blade baits. This is them. I'm going to take one out for those folks that don't know what it is. There's a bunch of different types out on the market. Let me see. I'm going to pull a couple of the standards out here. This here is the original chatterbait from Z-Man. I think they probably pioneered this technique right here. And what it is, it's a jig attached to a blade, or sometimes these are referred to as blade baits. So there is the blade, there's the jig. And this is, a lot of people just continue to refer to these as chatterbaits. Other people say blade baits. So there's a chatterbait. That's the original from Z-Man. Right here, this is a version of the Thunder Cricket from Strike King. So that's another version right there. What I want to know is, what is your favorite trailer to use on a blade bait / chatterbait? That's what I'd really like to know, because there's so many things out there right now that you can use as trailers for these baits. i.e., let me talk real quick. I'm going to try and run through this real quick. And if I start coughing, I still have congestion. So this here is a trailer for a chatterbait. And this is Big Bite Baits. This is the Kamikaze Swim On. And what's unique about a lot of these baits that they're using as trailers, they either rig them horizontal, so it looks like flappers like you would do with a frog or a craw, and other people rig them vertical, where it looks like the tail of a bait fish. So that's just one example there, and they're rigged either way. So very versatile trailers out there. That's just one. That is a that again is a Big Bite Bait Kamikaze Swim On. Excuse me. The next one is from Strike King, and it is called a Rage Tail. Pull one of these guys out. Some of these baits, I tell you, they wrap them up like breaking into Fort Knox. It'd be easier. This here is the Rage Tail, and it's a broader tail on it. It looks like a grub, just with a broader tail. There's, if you see on the appendages here, there's almost a like a water break there to give it additional action. But again, I've been seeing them online where they're rigging them up horizontal and vertical. So I'd really like to get some opinions on that. What's your favorite trailer for a blade bait or chatterbait, as we say? There's all kinds of them out there. People use paddle tail swim baits and grubs and worms and tube baits and just all kinds of things out there. But for us here in the Fredericksburg, Northern Virginia area, I'd really like to know what their favorite trailer is for chatterbait. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna go over is about last weekend. I went to the 26th annual Bass Tackle Show up at the Hillendale Fire Department up in Dale City. I went up there with a buddy of mine from DAC Baits. He pours his own soft plastics. I went up there with him to help drum up business and get the word out about my YouTube channel. And I went and talked to many different people. Just, our community is really fun and really good people. I have yet to run across someone that is negative in any way or doesn't want to talk. But when you talk to the people that are making their own baits, whether it be soft plastics, spinner baits, chatter baits, hard lures like your crank baits and jerk baits, and their version of whopper ploppers and spinner baits and just all those different things, they really like to talk and they really take pride in what they do. So I walked around the show a little bit. Here's a couple of clips from what I saw out there last weekend at the 26th annual Bass Fishing Show. Hey everyone, Marty Lawson from Rippin Lips with Marty Lawson. I'm here at the Dale City Bass Tackle event, and I'm going to walk around and show you folks around a little bit and show you some of the people that I'm going to have on my show. So here we go. This here is my buddy from DAC Baits. There is his logo, and he's got pricing sheets and he has order forms that if you want to come out here to Dale City and see his stuff, he'd be more than happy to accommodate you. And he's going to be on my channel soon. Things that he's done is he's rigged these up in different ways to show you how to use his baits, which is just fantastic. This here is Gray Goat Lures. Your name, sir?
Al.
Al. Al makes all kinds of spinner baits. These are amazing. These are all hand-tied skirts on these? No. Nope. Banded skirts?
Not really. If you look at the way we do our skirts, they're almost like a pro tie. There is a band inside, but it's rubber.
Okay.
And this way it helps the skirt flare out.
Very cool.
And it allows us to make just about any design we want.
Okay.
I mean, here we got, it is so simple.
Yep, white and red. Red in the spring kills them dead.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to build these lures with that new tool.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Eye Shine Craws. These are all hand painted, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hand painted baits right here. Look at these things.
All facing backwards crayfish.
Facing backwards crayfish. And your name is Rick.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. AJ?
Yes, sir.
Young man. How old are you?
16.
16.
Yes, sir.
16. Pouring these baits. Look at these things. Amazing. Amazing stuff here. Look at this. He's really doing some neat stuff here. Lots of baits, and I am going to feature him on my channel here in a couple weeks. Another gentleman here. Crunks Custom Cranks. Say that 10 times real fast, right?
How you doing today? I owe you some pictures.
Yeah, we're gonna get together and get you on my channel too.
Okay.
All hand painted. These things are amazing. I bought a couple at the Eagles Club show. Yep, just amazing. Look at these. Detail is really nice. Like the crappie pattern here. I'm gonna come by and spend money again. As always, you can never have enough tackle, but I think I'm getting to be tackle poor.
You always lose it. Don't be afraid to throw it where it won't come back and get more.
Very nice stuff.
Thank you.
Grab your card too. Here we go, gentlemen from Deep Creek Lures.
Yes, sir.
Spinner baits, soft plastic, Deep Creek lures are fantastic. I got a bunch of them. I use them every year. Good stuff.
Basically, trailers for the spinner baits and buzz baits.
Trailers for the spinner baits and buzz baits, folks. Look at that. Yep. He's gonna show us what he does. Look at that.
Frog.
That's a new one?
That's the new one.
I like that.
Go behind a buzz bait or a spinner bait.
Nice and soft too.
Oh yeah.
Yep, really nice.
Don't miss a hook setup with that one.
Nope, not at all. All kinds of tackle, folks. Someone else that has their own version of a chatterbait. Looking at this. I like that. David Limerick is his name. We're going to talk to this guy. One right here is amazing. This is Nova Lure Company. These are all hand-painted baits. Impressive display. Your name, sir?
Matt.
Matt.
Yes, sir.
Matt from Nova Lure Company.
That's right.
Just amazing stuff here. Check these out. They're a version of a plopper.
Yep.
Yep. He's got
They're-
top water, everything.
They're actually flat-sided, so if you throw a plopper, sometimes they roll.
Right.
These are flat-sided, so they don't roll.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, I catch a lot of fish on them.
Yeah. Very cool. Ned heads. These are his Ned baits. Be grabbing some of them here shortly. I really like these flatworms. Great for drop shot. He's got his own Ned heads that he's pouring. Checking all this out. Amazing baits. There's more custom painted baits right here. I already snatched a couple of these this morning. Got me some jerk baits and a couple square bills off of this gentleman. Really nice stuff. All hand painted. Got the Fisherman's Attic over here. He has a lot of rods and reels, used, new, line, lures. This display over here is crazy. Look at the antique stuff. So you folks that are into antiques, this is pretty cool. And then of course all this tackle that they're selling. $3 each, 2 for $5. Amazing here, folks. So this is the 26th annual. If you missed this one, you got to get out here to the next one. So I'll tell you what, after the show, I can honestly say the crowd dwindled down pretty quick, but really the stuff there was some really good items. And next year, if you can get to it, it's a good show to go to. There was some really good craftsmen there. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is after the show, I came home and I think it was Saturday evening, I got an instant message off my Facebook account from Mr. Chris Johnson. And he said he watched my first YouTube video and said that he would like me to come on his Facebook Live show. So we got together, started talking, and I went on his Facebook Live Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And if you look me up on Facebook, there's a link there where you can go in and watch the whole video. And I tell you what, I had a blast. The guy is fantastic. His followers were great. They were asking questions, and we were going over different things because he learned that I like finesse fishing, that I fish for both smallmouth bass in the local river here, and I fish the reservoirs around my area for largemouth. So we got to talk on a lot of different subjects in a small amount of time. And then I went on and I showed a trick, which I'm going to show here in just a few minutes, to his audience. And it got a pretty good round of support there. Everyone seemed to like this idea. And I told them that I was going to, excuse me, that I was going to show this on my YouTube video this week. Of course, then I got sick and I've been delayed, but look, I really want to show this off to you folks. And it's a money saver. It's money saving in being that you're going to save your baits. They're going to last longer, and it's also going to provide you a little perspective on how I look at things in my little mind here about how things can be done and work efficiently. So let me get to that. As soon as I can find the other thing I need. Right there. There we go. Okay, let me grab that. All right. So right here, this is a Wacky Rig tool. And for those of you out there that have never seen one of these, I recommend you go and pick one of these up. You can get them on Tackle Warehouse, Discount Tackle, Bass Pro Shops has them. I'm quite sure maybe you might be able to find them at Dick's or, you know, your local tackle stores, okay? Any place you can buy tackle. I have not seen them at the Walmarts yet, but, you know, I probably wasn't looking that hard either because I had a bunch of them. But this is a Wacky Rig tool. Notice there's a hole in there. There's rubber O-rings right here. And it's reloadable. When you buy this, you'll get a little pack of rings also. And as you can see, this unscrews right here. I think I have some sitting here. Yep. Okay, so you get additional rings and you just thread them on here. They're bouncing all over the place on me right now. But you can thread additional ones on. And you screw this back down. Now, Wacky Rig tool. So this O-ring slides up over this, okay? And what I like to show is first, take this, and the typical Wacky Rig, most people have, here's your hook, it's attached to your line. A lot of people fish these weightless, and what they do is they will bury the hook in the middle of the worm. And now this is a Z-Man, so this is a little different because Z-Man's different than everybody else. But there's a Wacky Rig, and that's what it looks like, okay? Now, some people can add a little bit of weight to it, or you can add a nail weight and things. There's all different things you can do to that setup. But this is a great bait for throwing shallow when the bass are just crashing stuff up real close to shore. It's a great bait to use. You can really draw some good strikes with this. Now, the problem with this, if it wasn't Z-Man, and I'll show you. All right, so this is a Yum Baits. It's just a typical stick bait, okay? And again, it's something that you would rig up wacky. It's a great way to do it. And what happens is when you hook this through the middle and you're fishing it, well, you get one fish, you drag it through some brush or grass and things like that. And the whole time as you're pulling this, anything that it brushes against, any fish that you're catching and things like that, it is actually pulling the plastic from the hook. And what happens is it does that. And now you got a great big tear in it, as you can see. All right. So now, most of the time, this is going to fall off in the water. It's going to sink. You're never going to see it again. If you do get it back, I like to say, well, guess what? Now I got a couple Ned Rig baits. But a way to save this and a way to actually utilize it in the exact same way, saving money, getting more hookups, and just overall making it work. So the first thing is this. I'll go back to the Z-Man because these things are, you know, super durable. A lot of people just throw a single ring on the bait, just like that, if they're using a Wacky Rig tool. Well, the problem I have with that is now what you want to do is you want to hook just that O-ring. Well, guess what? When that happens, now your hook is parallel with the bait. That's not going to give you a very high success rate of hooking the fish when it hits this, okay? Because there's just too much stuff in the way. Too much stuff in the way, all right? And this is kind of swinging around. It's doing all kinds of stuff. And the presentation isn't the same. So I have a solution. I'm going to show it to you right now. And then I'm going to show you why it actually saves baits. Unless you use a Z-Man. A Z-Man, you can catch 100 fish with one bait. But here you go. I'm going to take this Wacky Rig tool again. And I'm going to pull out another one of these Yum Baits. And the reason I'm going over this is because if you use something like Gary Yamamoto. Now, I do it with this one right now, but I'll tell you what. I love this color bait. I do like these baits, but they're expensive and they're going to rip easy. So, you know, you want to save these. So this is a way to save those more expensive baits that you fall in love with, I guess. All right. So look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing I did earlier. And what I like to look at is, you know, if you look at this bait, you see what that smooth section is? That's the egg sac of the bait. The middle point is either right towards the back of that, real close to the back. So, again, I'm going to slide one ring on, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a second ring, a second O-ring on my tool. I'm going to put the worm back in like this. And if you see, I'm leaning it. So there's the O-ring. And as I slide this up and it comes off of here, now I've created an X. Can you see that? I think you can. You see that X right there? Okay. So now I have an X with these two O-rings. Now when I take my wacky hook, I actually thread it through where the X is in these two O-rings. And now the magic happens when I can actually see what I'm doing. All right. Now, look at the way my bait sits. Instead of being this way to the bait with the hook, now I'm back to just like you would have hooked it if you had just hooked it into the bait itself without an O-ring. Now I'm hooking it this way with two O-rings. So there's one trick there. Now your hook is perpendicular instead of parallel to your bait, giving you better hook sets. The next is now as you're pulling it through, when you're catching a fish, you're pulling it through cover. You might get snagged up on something a little bit and you got to give it a yank. Now it's not going to rip your worm because these two O-rings right here are super strong. You see that? I'm pulling the O-rings and I'm not pulling on the worm. So there in itself is how it saves the baits. You're actually threading your hook through the O-rings and not the soft plastic itself, which will save you money in the long run. It increases your hookups this way, and everything just lasts longer. You're not going to have to be changing out your worm every, 5 to 10 casts or every 2 fish. You can keep fishing that thing and keep catching fish, and it lasts a lot longer. So there is my trick for the week. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments. If I need to explain it differently, if you want me to take pictures and post them, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. Just, it is a trick. It saves money. I use this. It works. I still get the good hookups. So right there, folks, this works. Okay. So right there is my trick for this week. And I showed it on Chris Johnson's Facebook Live, and I'm showing it here. So folks, give me your support. Tell me what you think. Put it in the comments. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is, one of the things that I went over last week is how I want to support local folks. And one of the things I mentioned is if you're looking for a particular color bait, you cannot go to Z-Man, Strike King, Kitech, Yum, any of these companies and call them on the phone and say, hey, I want this particular color worm with, pink and chartreuse and, psychedelic fleck in it. You can't do that. They're not going to take a call like that. You're one guy. All right. But I'll tell you what, your local guys that I went and saw at this show, you can call them and they will custom pour the bait that you want. And one of the things I want to show you is this. We talk about your big bait companies. And right here, this is a Z-Man bait. And this is called the Razor Shad's Fire Craw. It's great for a trailer on those chatter baits, blade baits. You can fish this so many different ways, all right? But right there you got it, okay? Now, there was one of the guys called Nova Lure Company. I happened to see these and I said, wow, check that out. This is Nova Lure Company. Look pretty similar. Now, I'm quite sure if I called Matt from Nova Lure Company and I said, hey, I want it a little bit darker red. Can you throw some gold flake in there for me? I'm sure he'll do it. But look, everyone, it is so similar. So similar. And if you want to trim down the tail a little bit different, take his, you trim it a little bit, you know, you're going to be really close. So when I said the option is there for you to get what you want poured by these local guys, Dak Baits, Nova Lure Company. Yes. AJ from Drag Set Fishing, DSF. He was there, 16-year-old gentleman pouring his own soft plastics. These guys can do it, and they're willing to do it. They like doing it. It just gives them more experience. And like I said, bait comparison, come on. I'd take it in a heartbeat. And guess what? They're cheaper than this. So there you go. Support local, buy local stuff, support your local craftsmen, and do it right. Okay, so that's, I'm going to get off that soapbox. All right. So again, sorry about this being a later video, but you know, COVID's COVID. You got to deal with it. We're all dealing with it in various ways. So I appreciate you coming on and watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button for me. And really, your feedback is so precious to me. If you look at last week's videos, I commented or I replied to every comment I received. That is my intention. So please reach out, make comments. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me tricks that you might want to hear, or something you heard about that you want to learn more about. Some new trick you heard about. I'll go look, I'll do legwork. I'll go look it up. I'll go see if I can find it, and then I'll explain it. If there's a different technique you want to use, anything from like I showed the blade baits, swim baits, you know, jerk baits, crank baits, you name it. Give me topics and I'll talk about them. Now, I'm going to tell you, I won't tell you that I'm the most knowledgeable guy in it, in every technique. I'm not. By far, I'm not. I'm a Ned rig, drop shot, crankbait guy. I've fished blade baits before. I'm getting into it a lot more this year. I'm looking forward to it. Jerk baits. Never fished a jerk bait, but I'm going to this year. But that's because I've done the research and I've watched other videos and I've learned techniques that I think I can explain it well, and I'll do my best. So please, like, hit that subscribe button, make comments, and give me your feedback. I just really appreciate it. Again, you know, fellow YouTubers out there, Shane Flint Outdoors, Bass and Furious, Titus Pope with Your Next Cast. Please hit those guys up. They're local guys, and they put out good information. Shane Flint is doing the Fish Chatter series where he's bringing on guests and they talk about fishing and techniques and things like that. So it's all good learning. So please, if you want to learn, stay tuned. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't care how many likes I get, how many subscribers I get. If I get a small group of people that like what I'm doing, I'm going to continue to do it. So stay tuned. I'll put up another video here earlier in the week, next week. And until then, everybody, hey, have a great night. God bless y'all. Good night.